right, everybody. Woo! ChaseN'Logic number 5 coming at you hot. What a milestone here, number 5. Whew.
You remember when you were 5 years old?
You know what? Probably not too well, but I'm glad you brought that up. Because I was thinking today, or I guess it was yesterday. It's still the weekend. Long weekend for us here. I was thinking, like, this weekend, what do I want to do this weekend? First things that come to mind, I have to do laundry. The house is kind of a mess. Want to do all that shit. So back to when I was 5, which I don't remember too well, but maybe you can elaborate because it seems like you remember when you were 5.
I'm in tune with my younger self.
That's why I asked, because that's
Right.
your peak. You peaked at 5 and then all downhill. So when you were 5 years old, what were you thinking about on the weekends?
When I was 5 years old, I was really focused on just like making sure I was up early enough for SpongeBob and making sure that I had my cereal ready to go because I didn't want to miss an episode.
Yeah, no, that was pretty important. SpongeBob's on top there. I was more of a Fairly Odd Parents guy, but it's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
So that's funny. You were 5 and then you get older. And then it's the weekend again. Maybe you're in high school. What are you thinking? What's on the weekend agenda for Ryan?
Where the honey's at? What can I do to like where's my practice at this weekend? Like what am I doing? What's the move? What are we doing?
What are we doing? So you're looking for stuff to do almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Trying to like become one with my peers. Just really become acquainted with everyone that I'm like around, spending time with.
So you like kind of wanted to get yourself out there and kind of, make more friends and do that kind of stuff. So that was maybe high school. Now we transition into college. Maybe schoolwork gets a little bit more tough and it takes up more of your time. But, I mean, maybe that's a priority then on the weekends. Maybe doing some studying for exams that may be coming up.
Mm-hmm.
What else in college you thinking?
Really just making sure I prioritized my work, making sure that I was able to get to work, and really just making sure that I was setting myself up for success like post-college.
And college is kind of a weird thing because it's the first time, I guess not everyone gets to experience it, but I mean, it's the first time you're kind of out of the house and you're kind of responsible for your own actions. So I guess some of the more influential things on your mind that motivate you are trying to keep it together where, and I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody, but I'm just saying I think when people get in college, they don't necessarily know how to do that either. So maybe their drinking gets caught up, they drink too much and it's catching up to them. And then maybe the priorities kind of shift there. And maybe if you want to get your partying out in college, which I'm sure a lot of people are dying to get to college to get out and party and experience that without really having anybody like looking over their shoulder like their parents. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting that the motives kind of change when you go into college and you can kind of, go one way or another. And I guess it's kind of like everything, but now college ends. And now it's kind of another weird thing. And I guess first thing on my mind would be like kind of career wise, how am I going to set myself up for the future? Right. So maybe my motives change to getting a good job, making sure that, I have a place to live. If the parents aren't, or they're moving around or whatever, you got to find a place to live. So now we're out of college, we have jobs, and now it's the weekend and I'm thinking about cleaning.
Sounds fun.
So are we ever really aware that our motives are changing? Are we expecting them to change? I mean, I guess there's some sort of timeline if you break it into like high school, college, after college. But I mean, during those transition phases, it's weird to me that our maybe purpose or motives, they change. So first of all, how has it changed you? I mean, you have a good job now, just got promoted. Congratulations to Ryan.
Thank you.
So maybe that's on your mind. What else? What's motivating you? It's the weekend now. What are you thinking about?
It's really just focused on making sure that I'm able to like survive at this point. Because now I am on my own. So I have to make sure that I keep my room respectable. I have food in the house. I have to be able to cook. I have to be able to like make sure that I'm able to do all these things so that I'm a functioning member of society.
Okay.
Which is a drastically different priority from when I was watching SpongeBob when I was 5 years old.
Absolutely. And that's what got me thinking this weekend is that I'm not necessarily looking forward to, but I am looking forward to days where I don't have work so I can catch up on trying to survive, trying to catch up and making sure that I have clean clothes for the next week, trying to make sure that I'm not living in filth. And then you bring up two interesting points where you're saying that you were trying to survive and kind of making the means to do that and thinking of ways to better your daily life maybe from here on out. But then also also you said that you also want to become a functioning member of society.
Right.
And that's kind of an interesting point, because then it's how much is our motives and our quote unquote purposes change. Are you doing it for yourself, or do you think you're doing it so that when others look at you, they can say, this guy's got it together?
I think there's a bit of a healthy balance to both, but I would say that the majority of it's driven by like society's perception of myself. Because I don't want people to look at me and be like, who the hell is this kid? Like, his like clothes are dirty, he smells like he's kind of weird, like, but no, I don't want people to be thinking like that.
Right.
So I have to like kind of put on, I don't want to say a facade, but I have to do these things so people will be able to take me seriously and respect me.
So for sure. And I think, and now that I think about it more and more, I mean, it's really more of how, and I don't want to say fit in, but how am I going to be able to not stand out in a negative way in people's eyes? It's basically like I'm trying to do the right thing so that when people mention my name, they have a good understanding of who I am and what I stand for. And I don't want to project something that I don't stand for onto people. So that changes my motives to being like, I want to be a clean person. Like you said, I don't want to smell out in public. I want to present myself looking nice, even though we're probably dressing as bums right now on this podcast, because
Please don't judge us.
it's cold. We just got a snowstorm, so don't judge us too much, but beanies inside is a lot. Yeah. So when does it feel like, what do you ever actually catch up? Because, I mean, I guess next on our plate, if you want to put us into cookie cutters like every other home or whatever, maybe we're thinking of family next. Maybe we're thinking of ready to settle down, getting a significant other, a partner that we can be with long term, have generations of our own here. So that might be the next step. Are you thinking about that at all, though? Even though that might be the next step, is that something that comes into your daily life?
I'm definitely considering it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of my big goals in life is to be able to be a father to my children and hopefully raise them better than how I was raised, which I believe we touched upon in our last podcast. Mm-hmm. So it's like I want to be able to pass down the knowledge that I've gained over the years and kind of like help them become the best people that they can be.
So it enters into your mind.
Right, yeah. No, it's definitely a thought of mine. And then I need the right person to do that with.
Right. So that's a motive.
Right.
Out on the town, maybe meeting somebody somehow, doing something. So now, let's say we don't want kids, or let's say we have kids. And let's say they're even out of the house and we've done a great job at raising them or whatever. Or if you don't want kids and you're happy with your career, I mean, is there ever a time and place where you kind of lose yourself, where you're kind of not sure what the next thing is, the motive, the purpose of what your next step's going to be? You're not looking forward to anything on the weekends? Or, like, when does that occur? And does it occur with people? Because, yeah.
At least for myself professionally, like, I know, like, I was recently promoted, like you mentioned, and I don't really know what I want to do next after that. Like, I don't know if I'm content with the position where I'm at right now, or if I want to pursue other options that I have out there. So I'm kind of in limbo with that. And it's like, so for now, I'm just kind of going through the motions, and I don't really know, like, what I'm working for, which that's kind of a weird feeling, because it's like, usually I've been very driven in that regard for the past, like, couple years post-college. But now it's like I don't really have like a set goal for that. Mm-hmm. And it feels like I'm just kind of like wandering aimlessly in that regard.
So a healthy way to go about it, I would think, is to be very aware of where you are in this cycle of life and where you want to be. And always kind of have that in your mind, because I think it is important to like see it before it's coming. The kids who are in college and networking with the big companies in college usually set themselves up pretty good for when they get out. Maybe they get out with a job. I mean, it's about preparing for the next step before you even get there. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily know where they're going. And I think it's very important to keep thinking, obviously, about, what you want to do and do more and make yourself more fulfilled. But it's very important to be aware of it, I would think.
Right, yeah, you got to be aware of it, but sometimes you just don't really know exactly what you want to do. And in that regard, you kind of try to find yourself along the way, which there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. but you're almost doing yourself a disservice if you don't really know exactly what you want to do. So you're just kind of like experimenting with a bunch of things. But again, there's nothing wrong with that, because if you don't know what you want to do, you don't want to just go down the wrong path and be like, well, shit, did this thing and I realized this isn't really what I want. So you kind of have to experiment in that regard.
For sure. And I guess that's what kind of like schooling is in the first place, is having a bunch of different subjects, and you might not like most of them, but the one that you do like, maybe you filter into that category and go into that. So it's kind of similar setup in that regard. But I mean, it's just so funny because I've never thought of this idea or this of being aware of my motives on the weekends, or being aware of what is, the thing that's giving me the most, pleasure or motive at the time. So it's weird that I just thought of it, and now it's like, wow, I think that's like super important to always be aware of what you're trying to do. And if it's not working out, I mean, you only have so much time, but you just got to do as much stuff that you can do that you like. So that's kind of what it is. And if you're stuck doing something that isn't enticing you, isn't interesting to you, something that you don't want to continue doing, it's important to keep thinking about that and maybe making steps to change something if you don't like it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm no doctor. I'm not claiming to be.
I'm not a doctor either. So that makes two of us.
Yeah. Maybe we should get a doctor.
Do you know any doctors?
Not many. I should probably go to the doctors more, too.
I should probably go to the doctor.
I feel like I haven't in a pretty long time.
We should have networked a little more in college, too, so we could have met a doctor.
Yeah. Why aren't any of our friends doctors?
We have bad friends? Are we bad friends?
We should be the good friend and just become doctors.
We can become doctors.
Because I feel like it's important for there to be a doctor in the friend group.
Does a lawyer count? That's kind of like a doctor of like the law.
That's true. Maybe that gets us out of more trouble. Cool.
Interesting.
Well, get yourself a lawyer or a doctor friend and you're pretty much set. You don't really need to do anything else after that. Cool. Yeah. Keep track of what you want to do. I don't know. Motivate yourself. Do things that you want to do. And, yeah, I think I want to end this podcast.
You want to end it?
I think that was pretty clear, concise, short, getting people's thought-provoking. Again, we're not doctors. I can't really go into how we think, so this is just my thoughts, right? So, cool. ChaseN'Logic number 5. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Appreciate it.